Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corkin here. I'm the host of this show, and every week talk to smart founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, all kinds of different companies, ranging from Netflix to YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard, Kinko's, LendingTree, OpenTable. Go check out some of our archives. Lots of great episodes there. I'm also the co-founder of Rise 25, where we help connect our B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And this episode is actually part of our Double Dare Executive Coaching Series, sponsored by Scott Anderson. If you're looking for an experienced executive coach who has been in the trenches as an entrepreneur to help you break through a business plateau, Scott Anderson and Double Dare Executive Coaching offer a proven system to scale your life personally and professionally. He has over 30 years experience as a proven entrepreneur who started over a half dozen companies, also a master's degree in clinical counseling, which is just unheard of, that kind of background. Check out doubledareyou.us for a quick online assessment and schedule a free business blueprint from Scott. That's doubledareyou.us. And my guest today is Michael Boaz. He's the founder of Boaz Construction and iRestore. Boaz Construction is a company that specializes in commercial construction. It's based in Indianapolis, Indiana. And iRestore is a restoration company focused on insurance work. Fun fact, Michael has 2 bachelor's degrees. You don't see that very often. And also is an active member of Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, which is a great organization I participate in as well. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25, where we help B2B business owners to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with Done For You podcasts. Go to rise25media.com to learn more. All right. So Michael, we were chatting beforehand about how you first got involved in entrepreneurship. And at the ripe old age of 5 years old or so, you said a picture appeared in your local paper with you running a lemonade stand on your parents' lawn. And I think that's so cool because it took me a long time to get around to entrepreneurship, but it sounds like you kind of had it in your bones. Were you raised in an entrepreneurial family, or did you just have kind of a drive to go out and sell some watered down lemonade and make 50 cents a pop at a young age?
So I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. My family's my dad's side's like 3rd generation Middle Eastern and Syrian, to be specific. And so that whole side of the family all had their own business, like a shoe store.
In the States or back in Syria?
Yeah, in Indiana. Yeah, in a town where I grew up called Terre Haute, Indiana. So grocery stores, attorneys, lots of grocery stores. So I was always, like, Saturdays we'd go and clean out rental property and visit grocery stores. And so I just saw that from a young age that everyone owned their own business. So I always knew that that's what I was going to do.
And aside from the lemonade stand, were you also starting businesses like in high school?
Well, I cut grass. So I had lawns so I always had between $20 and $60 in my pocket. And another thing, we had these contests every year in school. You would sell, I think it was I'm trying to remember, it was like candy and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there was this guy would come into the classroom and would be prizes, and he'd tell you all these prizes. So 3 years in a row, I was number 1 salesman. And
wow.
And I'd give it. My mom would hit everyone up at her work. I'd go door to door to door, and I got this little television that was it had a handle. You could carry it. This is in the 80s.
Yeah, that's top technology.
Huge deal. So
I'm sure you were the coolest kid in school once you got that thing.
Yeah, I took a lot of pride in that, and I always kind of had a need to have some money in my pocket.
Yeah. And then, so you go and you graduate from your first bachelor's degree, which you got in construction management, and you went into construction shortly after that. At what point did you take an interest in building things?
That's a good question. I've wondered that myself. It's either, it's either pictures I grew up looking at the wall on the wall, or my dad had rental property, and his idea of a remodel was, I remember one time there was a hole in the wall, and he screwed a piece of plywood over it. And I just remember thinking, like, there's got to be a better way, or
I laugh because I'm looking at your website right now, and you have this like beautiful restaurant on, as the front page of your website, just gorgeous high end luxury. Looks like the most elegant place to go eat. So I can't even imagine you coming from that. But maybe that's how you got a passion for making things look beautiful.
It is a phenomenal place, actually, to experience if you're ever in Indianapolis. That photo you're looking at, it's called Bar 114. It's a vision of Martha Hoover, who's sort of the queen bee restaurateur in Indianapolis. And but yeah, I love that photo you just mentioned. I love making beautiful spaces and beautiful finishes, and just creating a space that's going to be community, and I really enjoy that.
What's that? Tell me a little bit. I'm jumping ahead here probably, but what's that interaction like working with a restaurateur? You're the construction company where, implementing the vision. Tell me what that's like. She comes to you with a new project, or any of your clients comes to you with a new project. Take us through what that process is like.
That's a good question. Here's what I want it to be like. They come to me with whatever level they're at in their journey, with what they know about their business, which is ultimately hospitality. It's a very tough business. And once I listen to them and understand their needs, I love to advise, and I love to solve problems for them. I want to make their life easier. I want to make the structure easier to manage. I want to eliminate problems. So I know that with any business, but probably specifically a restaurateur, once you're open, it's very difficult to close and fix anything.
Yeah, they're always open all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so early on, I was just fascinated with making things very robust. Like, I remember I went into this space, and I looked at near the dishwasher, and like, it was just black. The walls black. Everything was rotten, rusted. And I'm like, man, it's disgusting. It's wrong. And so we actually developed our own details for walls, wet walls. We build very robust, the products that we use and the walls we build in the restaurant, just for example, it's a little bit nuts and bolts building science. It's not terribly sexy, but they don't mold, they don't rot, they don't mildew, they don't feed mold, they don't break. And so we take a lot of pride in that. And then, today, restaurants are often about an experience. Even the restroom, it's got to be nice.
It's so funny too. I can tell because I'm looking at your Instagram here, and you've got pictures of these beautiful restrooms that you've created that are obviously look like a restaurant restroom.
Yeah. So if we're doing tile work in a restaurant, we look at it as artwork. If we are doing, we're adjusting every time we build, we're adjusting till we get a very comfortable, like, banquette seat where you're seated at a table, the elevations of the tables. So it's really just all about solving the problem for the owner, and improving the experience for the user. And that's, simply put, we're going to deliver more value if we build your space, because we're not there to build what's on the print and then have a transaction. We're there to give you more value than we're receiving. And we're going to go above and beyond because we know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's amazing because a restaurant is so many different things that you want it to be beautiful. It has to be functional. I mean, takes such a beating, for a restaurant. I worked in restaurants when I was in college and high school, and, just take a super big beating. So they need to be all those things at once. And as you said, you can't just shut it down and close it for a month, and, you'd go out of business if you did that.
Yeah, the kid that is, or the man or the woman or the person that is running the dishwasher station, they shouldn't care about what's surrounding them. They're not focused on keeping things dry. So we build them so they could sort of have a fire hose ran on them, and everything in the perimeter can just get completely soaked and kicked in the balls for 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Talk to me about running well, let's first talk about, while we're on the topic of restaurants, I don't know how things have been over the last 18 months with COVID, and restaurants having to change in Indiana, but certainly here in Northern California, it's been so hard on restaurants. They had to, there are these different phases. First, they shut down, then they could reopen for takeout, and then they could have some outside seating. So then they started building this outside seating. And then some of them really invested a lot of money in outside seating, building more if they had the space for it, right?
Right.
And they had to put a lot of money into it. And then inside opened again, and then that shut down and is outside again. It's been so hard on these restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been for you? Have you stepped in with any clients and been building different seating configurations?
Mm-hmm. We've assisted with a few clients in actuating outdoor systems enclosures where we'll have like a aluminum frame and it's all covered with a clear vinyl so you can heat it. Everyone just want to increase seating. So if they could do it outside, some of them could afford to do it. We helped a few people there. We had clients that just rented tents and put heaters in there. And we've started, we're building a few restaurants starting like right now. And we've seen a lot of adjustment for carryout. Carryout seems to have taken generally, I think it's around 10% of a business can be carryout now. So we see a lot of restaurateurs asking and planning for a carryout station for DoorDash, Uber.
Yeah,
and
that's changed. I've noticed that with restaurants in recent years, like needing to reconfigure or have a couple of, spaces where the DoorDash or Uber can pull up and park and run in really quickly and get the food. And the same thing for people picking up and carrying out.
Trying to make it efficient for everyone.
Yeah.
So we've seen a big shift there, and I believe it's here to stay. I think with the younger generation, with millennials, myself, I'm in between houses right now. I'm under remodel for my future home, and it's just easy. So I think that part of business will stay. And I think it's probably a smart idea to be prepared to make that more process as efficient as is possible.
Yeah. Now, as we recorded this in late September of 2021, the labor market, hiring, recruiting has been a big challenge. I know you've lost a few people, like every business has. And when you said that, your philosophy, towards managing your company and putting good talent in place is similar to what Phil Jackson did when he was coach of the Bulls, bringing different personality together, types together. Talk to me a little bit about that philosophy, that Phil Jackson approach.
Well, I've had, in this business, you've got a lot of experienced guys that are sort of construction guys, maybe not the most eloquent guys, but they've been a journeyman carpenter. So trying to just understand everyone's strengths and playing to their strengths. If we have someone that's a good communicator, we have someone that's not a good communicator, we have someone that only sees the worst in a situation, we try to coach them up to really focus on changing their sort of optics and the lens they're looking through. But really, it's, I think the biggest fascination that I have right now from like management and and just all those personalities is understanding the way the brain works. We talked a little bit about that. And I don't know a ton about Phil Jackson. I was a massive fan. I watched all of those games on the back-to-back three-peats, but I knew he was at least, I think he adhered to the Buddhist. I think he's a Buddhist, and so there's a lot of interesting mindset similar parallels to some of the stuff that I'm doing with. I have a coach right now. I mean, Scott's been a great coach of mine in the past, and I'm still working with him today. And I'm doing a lot of the work, the sort of inside out work with a coach named Demi McConkey.
What sort of mindset pieces do you find that are important to focus on, whether it's for you personally or for one of your team members?
Yeah, I've tried to have conversations and use language to, for example, if a guy, we've had a guy that's like, man, just everything's going wrong today. Just nothing goes right every time. It's the same and it's really not true. It's like living in your past experiences and understanding, that really that's all learned behavior, and you can kind of unlearn that. And it's really not happening to you. It's just happening.
It's so funny. I was at my kids' back to school night last night, and second grade teacher for my son, Toby, was talking about the power of yet and saying, I can't read yet, or I don't know long division yet. And it was all about this kind of growth mindset stuff.
Yeah, I literally, if I hear myself say anything like that, I'm very careful today. I'm careful of the things I say around my children. I have a 6, 3, and 1, and even if my wife wants to do something that financially I don't want to do, I just say, well, rather than say we can't afford that, I say, well, let's figure out a way. Let's figure out how we can afford it.
Yeah.
And so, really trying to create a mindset here. One of our core values is calm, assertive, and so. It's kind of hard. It feels a little preachy and coachy coming from me. So I'm careful where I intervene with some of this stuff, but I've been fascinated with the brain. I started reading books from Dr. Bruce Lipton. I don't know if you've ever,
I don't know him,
if you're aware.
Yeah.
And really just started understanding the brain is really just this hardware, right? And it gets its operating system from basically from the third trimester up to 7 years of age. Mm-hmm. And your environment is where all of this is learned, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. What you see. It's not even what it doesn't even have to be told to you. You're viewing and building, right? And that sort of creates the very powerful subconscious mind.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Let's talk about this last 18 months have been just absolutely crazy for so many businesses. Take me back to March of 2020 when the pandemic hit. What was going through your mind? I know you had some projects that you were working on at the time, and you were fortunate to be considered an essential business. But did you at any point freak out, or did what was the reaction like for you?
Yeah, so respect to all of those businesses that I know a lot of people struggled. I knew a lot of people struggling. A lot of people, especially in hospitality, were not in a good situation, even to get PPP because maybe they weren't financially healthy. So I don't want to seem disrespectful to anyone, but for me, it was only positive. It was only just like for the first time, I slowed down and spent like meaningful time with my children and I had time, and I started just relaxing. I noticed that I was sleeping really good. And again, I don't want to sound like short-sighted or way off base here, but my experience was never fearful. We were an essential business. We did have some really good projects going, and one of them was a surgery center. So we felt like we were helping people on some level in the healthcare industry. And so for me, it was a first time I had an opportunity to really slow down and be grateful for what I did have, and try to design my life and improve, the direction that I wanted to go in. And I I was showing up to my EO meetings just like happy.
Mm.
And never, the virus has never scared me. I know that um, it's a totally different story for people that are high risk, but yeah, I think it was a really good positive experience for me.
And as things have opened up, how do you bring that experience back with you and make changes, if any, to preserve a piece of that calmness, that tranquility that you described that you had after COVID hit?
Again, I'm gonna. I think I think Scott coaches on. I know he's very interested in something called Untethered Soul. It's a book by Michael Singer, and Scott and I have talked about it. And I was also doing some of that work with another coach, Demi McConkey, that I've mentioned. And so I started really comprehending that my situation doesn't create my experience, right? So I really learned how to take back my experience, and it really is, and sort of disconnected from the situational stuff that was happening around me in business, because I had been through years where I couldn't sleep, and I just maxed out on stress,
Mm.
absolutely maxed out.
Crazy that it
Um,
would take a pandemic to solve that.
I think it was just timing. It really wasn't so much the pandemic. I had already started doing that work, but I think for me, the pandemic was kind of like, the realization of what really matters. I think
Mm.
the reflection and saying what really matters. And at that time, I realized I didn't spend enough time with my kids.
Mm.
I got to know my kids in like the first 2 weeks, like on a deeper level than I had had. That's the
Yeah.
truth.
That's great. That's great. Well, Michael, we're running a little short on time here, but I want to ask, this is, I'm a big fan of gratitude. And if you look around at, your peers
Yeah.
and contemporaries, others who you'd consider maybe in your industry or other EO forum mates, you've mentioned a couple of thought leaders and authors that you look up to, but who are the key, champions, friends, peers, contemporaries who you would, give a shout out for helping you along the way?
Um, EO has been a great organization for me. It's opened many, many doors for me. Um, some of my close friends in EO, a guy named Sebastian in EO Chicago, a guy named Ivan in EO Indianapolis, now YPO. And those are really sticking out. Coaching Scott, when I hired Scott, I'd never had a coach. And I just thought, my mindset was like, I'm not going to spend extra money on a coach, which was really short-sighted. And so Scott was great. Can't say enough good things about Scott. I mean, a guy that has founded companies, blown up companies, is a therapist, and just really gets it. Scott's great. And I've continued to refer people to Scott, and I continue to work with Scott. I have a coach, Demi McConkey, that I'm extremely grateful for. And authors, Robert Kiyosaki, Michael Singer, two that really come to mind. And I think you and we had a very brief conversation about Garrick Gunderson and Wealth Factory.
Past guest on my show. Yeah.
I spent a few years with that organization, and I became friends with Garrett. I'm going to visit Monday, and just financial IQ just went to the next level.
Yeah. So, super smart guy. Well, this Michael, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about you and your companies?
Yeah, they can. You can follow us on Instagram at Boaz Construction. We have some other real estate endeavors that you can see from. You can find us on Instagram. A company called at Meadows Design Complex, which will rebrand in at Milky Way, and if our website.
BoazConstruction.com, right?
Yes. Actually, no. It is buildboaz.com.
Buildboaz.com. All right, cool. They'll go check that out. All right, Michael, thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.